Hey guys, back here again with a new review. Today we're going to be taking a look at the new Vampire Weekend album, Father of the Bride. Having taken like 6 years off since their last release in like 2013, the expectations are pretty high right now for this. But if I'm going to be real, honestly, I've never listened to a Vampire Weekend record before, and this was my first time doing so. I've heard their biggest hits occasionally here and there, but it's definitely not something I'd noticed right off the bat. But nevertheless, I was still excited to see what exactly they were, as I knew that the kind of genre they made, I just didn't know exactly what they sounded like. I found the first several tracks on the album to be very interesting in their own unique ways, which would show to really set the tone for the entirety. Right off the bat, you notice this very calm and settling, but very interesting instrumentation. The choir on the opening track, Hold You Now, is absolutely gorgeous. Danielle Haim from Haim features on this track as well as two others, and doesn't really do anything great or unexpected or grand, but more just kind of fits to what how this song is supposed to sound, just very calm and relaxed before the glorious choir comes in. And she does an excellent job of just being regular, just a good vocalist, not doing anything extreme, which is very fitting for the song. Harmony Hall then follows, which was the initial big push, the big lead single that they put out. And honestly, I kind of see some of the interesting aspects on it, but other than the fluttering guitar, there wasn't too much. I mean, after the album was over, and this is a song obviously that I've heard many times before, I still haven't found myself returning to it. And I don't know if it's just because there's not a lot that seems interesting to me, or if it's just not catchy or what, but the song just kind of exudes trying to be interesting. A few tracks follow that embody that same energy as the Harmony Hall, with interesting but forgettable up until the track Big Blue. One of the catchiest songs on the album comes in with a bit more of an electronic punch to it. With its short length, it really changes beginning to middle, and then goes back to the beginning form at the end, but still makes for a nice growing song that really kind of evolves throughout. Immediately following is the track How Long, a worthy successor to Big Blue, a nice little funky tune with another slick hook and absolutely interesting instrumentation really bring this thing to life. Over the next few tracks, however, I did start to experience the aspects of the album that I wasn't as big of a fan of. And like I said, the opening tracks kind of set the tone for later on, and this is how I mean. Where in the beginning, it was quite interesting to hear these kind of ideas that they had sparked around that were kind of interesting, but later on that just kind of starts to layer into the background. It doesn't really sound as interesting and is easily distractible if you're thinking about something else at this point. But like I said at the beginning of the album, since it was the first time you're hearing it, it is a lot more interesting then, but when it happens later on in the album, it just kind of fades into the background, and that's unfortunately the case here in the meat of the album. My mistake is in the midst of this gloomy area here, not enough to pull itself out of the pit that it threw itself in, but the change in the song is quite nice and enjoyable. Oddly enough though, the new path starts with Sunflower. Steve Lacy, featuring on both Sunflower and the following track Flower Moon, bring new life to the album that I didn't really see yet up until this point. Like I said, there were tracks earlier on that I did find very interesting. However, this just added a lot more color and pop to it. Steve Lacy's little guitar and then just kind of the vocal riffs that they go on, I think are kind of nice and catchy, even though I've seen a bit of actual hate for those parts of the album. And on Flower Moon, the vocal editing is out of this world good, with the kind of wiry and bending constantly, and it just kind of blows my mind that they came up with this and put it into a track that sounds the way it does. It sounds so real, but yet the vocal editing matches it so well, even though it's obviously not their actual vocals sounding so strange and odd. Then there's 2021, which closes out this nice little segment here with a bit more electronic sound. Is very simple with only a small platter of instruments used on it. Sadly though, just before the end of the album, it does fall into this sleepy mode again. Luckily, the final track, Jerusalem, New York, Berlin, does bring it up a little bit, not really being a very exciting track, but just being a very nice calm track to just kind of close out the album. I think especially what is interesting to me on this though is the vocals and the melody just being very soft and spread out. It really brings kind of a nice little touch to it, a soft closed ending. The spraying piano that kicks in a little bit into the track is also a nice addition, I think. And after the album was over, I kind of looked back and realized I didn't really enjoy this that much, with several of the tracks just being kind of forgettable, where, like I mentioned earlier on, the beginning tracks, while it was kind of creative and cool, it lost its flavor later on. To me, I see this album as an album you'd put on at like a cheese and wine party that you're drinking and talking to people with, while it's just kind of softly on in the background, as it is kind of fits that environment, and it's not really something I'd ever want to go and listen to on my own. The good moments on the album are just brought down by these kind of dull areas where it's not bad, but it's just not as interesting as it could be. So in the end, I'm going to give this album a 4.